Fang Yuan, this celebration banquet plan is terrible. Is this really your final proposal? Bai Ningbing, the CEO of Qingyuan Technology, was also my wife. In front of everyone, she criticized me on stage. Then I heard her inner voice. Darling, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want this either. But Wang Dateng said we needed one final test. Just hold on a little longer. You see, this was my wife of 3 years, and I was her secret husband, an unlucky man who had spent 3 years as the company's technical manager. Even though I could hear her thoughts, I still couldn't stop myself from defending my work. Ms. Bai, I base this proposal on everyone's. Don't make excuses. As a senior employee, you should have your own judgment, instead of shirking responsibility. Her inner voice came through again. Oh God. What am I saying? Darling looked so hurt. Wang Dateng said, only this much pressure could show whether he really loved me. But this is breaking my heart. Inside, I felt nothing. The truth was, 3 months ago, I suddenly discovered that I could hear Bai Ningbing's thoughts. At first, I was ecstatic. It turned out that all her harsh criticism and unreasonable demands hid affection and what she called test. But now, I found it nothing short of ironic. She slapped the proposal onto the table. Look at this plan. The whole process is a mess. The budget is overrun, and you even got the guest seating wrong. Fang Yuan, you've been with the company for 5 years. Is this all you can do? Whispers spread through the crowd. Several middle managers who had always disliked me exchanged gleeful, mocking looks. No, that's not true. Darling, you arranged everything perfectly. You even remember that investor prefers a seat by the window. I can't keep this act up much longer. Bai Ningbing's fingers trembled slightly, but her face still wore the icy expression of a company president. Wang Dateng, standing beside her, stepped forward. The 24-year-old intern who had returned after studying abroad cleared his throat and spoke. Ms. Bai is right. I've reviewed this proposal too. It does have a lot of problems. Fang, have you been too tired lately? Why don't you let me finish it? He always spoke with such tact and consideration. Assistant Wang is right. I may be too tired. Bai Ningbing froze for a moment. She clearly hadn't expected me to comply so easily. Darling, why aren't you arguing back? You should be angry. Then I'd have an excuse to forgive you. I almost laughed aloud. Argue back? How many times had I heard thoughts like that this month? If I really argued, would she say I was being unreasonable and add another test? I'd had enough. Bai Ningbing walked up to me and stared at me with a stern expression. Is this because you were late to last week's meeting and missed the plan? As a senior employee, don't you even have a basic sense of punctuality? Darling, I've found an excuse for you. Quick, say yes. Then I'll ask why you were late. You had a fever that day. I know. I felt your forehead. You were burning up. I wanted you to go home and rest. But Wang Dateng said it was time to test your sense of responsibility. It was true. That day, my fever reached 39 degrees Celsius, but I still came to work. Because before leaving that morning, Bai Ningbing had said coldly, there's an important meeting today. Don't embarrass me. I forced myself to finish the meeting and was vomiting so violently in the bathroom that the world seemed to spin. I heard her crying inside. Darling, you're amazing. You made it through. I'll make you soup tonight. That night, I waited until very late. Then she texted me. I have a last-minute dinner engagement. Don't wait for me. Of course, I never got to drink that soup. Feeling emotionally exhausted, I obediently admitted my fault. I'm sorry. It was my fault. Bai Ningbing's pupils widened slightly. That's not right. No, that's not right. You were supposed to explain that you were sick. Then I could reluctantly forgive you. That's how it was supposed to go. Wang Dateng seized the opportunity to speak. Ms. Bai, Fang doesn't seem to be in good shape. Why don't we let him go home and rest? I can oversee the celebration banquet. He stood just behind Bai Ningbing and cast me a pitying look. I set my orange juice on the table and looked at her calmly. No need. I'll stay right here. Anything else you'd like to criticize, Ms. Bai? Bai Ningbing opened her mouth, but for once, didn't know what to say. I don't want to criticize you. I want to hug you. I want to tell you how hard you've worked this past month. I want to tell you that everything will be all right tonight. Her thoughts grew increasingly frantic. Several people who were close to Wang Dateng whispered their agreement. Some even chuckled. I looked over. Every face was familiar. Over the past month, they had repeatedly tripped me up with Bai Ningbing's tacit approval, and even her subtle encouragement. And every time, I could hear Bai Ningbing's inner conflict and guilt. How can they laugh at him like that? I'll transfer manager Zhang, who led the laughter, to logistics. No. I'll fire him outright. How dare he make fun of my darling? See, she was cursing people out again. Yet her face remained cold. Fang Yuan, write a formal self-criticism after the meeting. Hand it to me tomorrow. Now, please return your attention to today's main event. Oh no. What did I just say? Darling, was I too harsh? Your eyes look red. Please don't be sad. I can't keep acting much longer. Hang in there, darling. This is a test for you. You have to lower expectations before raising them. You understand? There's a huge surprise coming. Wang Dateng said this worked best. It revealed people's true character and would make you cherish me more. Whispers had already begun around us, just as expected. We're listed now. Certain people with connections are finally showing their true colors. Ms. Bai has finally come to her senses. She was far too lenient before. Things only improved after Assistant Wang arrived. The company's culture has become much healthier. Wang Dateng stepped forward at just the right moment, his tone sincere. Ms. Bai, please don't be too angry. Fang may have simply been careless this time. Today is a happy occasion. Why not let him go home and reflect? We shouldn't let this ruin everyone's mood. That Wang Dateng, what a hypocrite. He's the one who keeps insisting we make the test harsher. He makes me furious. But he's right. We can't ruin the atmosphere now. Darling, bear with it for now. I'll make it up to you and give them what for later. Go home for now and think about what you've done. Darling, don't go. I was only saying that. If you stay, I'll pretend I didn't notice anything. I have a surprise for you. She turned back to face the crowd with a perfect smile on her face to thank everyone for their hard work. The company has prepared a special surprise. My heart suddenly began to beat faster. According to our agreement, on the day the company went public, she would make our relationship public and end our 3-year secret marriage. And last night, I had heard her planning to give me the position of vice president and company shares. Darling, watch. I'm about to announce it. Just wait a few more minutes. I even prepared a ring. It's in my handbag. Her thoughts were filled with excitement and anticipation. On stage, Bai Ningbing described the company's plans for the future. Her voice rose and fell with practiced rhythm. Applause rose from the audience again and again. I watched her radiant profile and felt my heart grow cold for the first time. This was the woman I had loved for 5 years. We had been together since college. When she founded Qingyuan Technology, I turned down a major tech company's offer to help her. Together, we had taken a 3-person studio all the way to today's public listing. I had built nearly all of the company's core technical architecture. I had also won most of our major clients. Yet I had remained only a technical manager, earning an ordinary executive salary. Bai Ningbing said it was necessary for the company's stability. Once we went public, she would reveal everything and give me what I deserved. I had waited 3 years. So, on this special day, I decided to restructure the company's executive team. Bai Ningbing's voice pulled me back to reality. The entire room held its breath. All right. The formalities are over. Now it's time to make the announcement. My darling must be getting impatient. I'm officially promoting my darling to vice president of the company. He'll oversee all technical research and development and hold 20% of the company's shares. Here it comes. Darling, listen carefully. First, I appoint Wang Dateng as the president's special assistant, reporting directly to me and assisting with the company's daily operations. Applause broke out as Wang Dateng bowed with a smile. I froze. No, not me. Darling, wait a little longer. Wang Dateng said. The surprise would have the greatest impact if it was saved for last. He was right. Hang in there a little longer. Darling, you're next. I promise. A hint of hesitation entered Bai Ningbing's thoughts, but she was quickly persuaded. First, I would like to extend my special thanks. At some point, Wang Dateng suddenly walked to the side of the stage and interrupted her in a low voice. He leaned close to her ear and quickly whispered something. Bai Ningbing's expression froze. What? Wang Dateng says. Announcing it now would be too sudden. Shouldn't we add one final pressure test? Question him one more time in front of all these people and see how he responds. Wouldn't that be the only way to win everyone's respect? Maybe. It does make some sense, but my darling has suffered enough. Fine. Just one last test. I'll make it up to him twice over afterward and publicly announce his promotion to vice president, his shares, and our relationship. Tonight, I'll put on something beautiful and apologize. Yes, that's what I'll do. The excitement faded from her eyes. At that moment, my heart went completely cold. So there was always one final test. My feelings and my dignity could always be set aside for the vague promise of doing what was best for me and postponed again and again. Bai Ningbing smoothly continued her speech. First, I want to sincerely thank all our partners for their trust, especially our colleagues in the technology department, who worked tremendously hard during the most challenging stages. Of course, we must also acknowledge our own shortcomings. For example, the proposal mentioned earlier exposed how some of our colleagues set their sights too high and lost touch with reality. Going public isn't the finish line. It's a new beginning. I hope everyone will stay grounded and avoid both arrogance and impatience. The room fell silent, and many people secretly glanced at me. Their expressions were complicated. I closed my eyes briefly. Over the past month, I had heard thoughts like these countless times. Every time she planned to reward me, she changed her mind at the last moment because of Wang Dateng's advice, and believed him every single time. I even wondered whether something was wrong with her head. Bai Ningbing looked at me, her expression conflicted. Fang Yuan, regarding the criticism just now, do you have anything to say? The room fell silent again. Everyone's eyes focused on me. There was curiosity, ridicule, and pity. I took a deep breath and set down my champagne glass. Then I walked toward the main podium. Bai Ningbing watched me approach. A flicker of confusion crossed her eyes, followed by panic. Darling, what are you doing? Don't do anything rash. Answer properly and admit your mistake. I have other surprises prepared. I'll announce our relationship, so no one will dare laugh at you anymore. Right after the celebration banquet, I ignored her completely. I don't want these endless tests anymore. My abilities are clearly insufficient, and I fear I'm no longer fit for my position. So I've decided to resign from Qingyuan. Gasps swept through the banquet hall. I took a stack of documents from my bag. Second, I intend to end my marriage to Ms. Bai Ningbing. This is the divorce agreement. I've already signed it. The room descended into deathly silence. All color instantly drained from Bai Ningbing's face. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I could hear the tidal wave of panic raging inside her. No, 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 no. Darling, what are you saying? Divorce? Why? This isn't how it was supposed to go. I prepared a ring and promotion documents. They're all in my bag. Wang Dateng told me not to take them out yet. Damn it. Wang Dateng again. Then go ahead and take them out now. Are you going to keep testing him until the end of time? I let out a cold laugh. Ms. Bai, as you wish. I can't take the pressure anymore. Bai Ningbing looked bewildered and deeply conflicted. I shook my head and turned toward the banquet hall doors. An uproar erupted behind me. No one had expected that the usually unremarkable man was actually the president's husband. Bai Ningbing called out to me, somewhat desperately. Fang Yuan, wait, what do I do? Darling is leaving. Should I still tell him now? Even now, she's still hesitating and wavering. I looked back at her coldly, then walked away. The night wind felt cool against my face. I loosened my tie and took a deep breath. 6 months ago, when I first heard Bai Ningbing's thoughts and learned that she still loved me, I thought everything would get better. Now I understand. Some wounds, even when inflicted in the name of love, are still wounds. She could feel sorry for me while allowing others to trample my dignity. She could plan surprises for me while repeatedly postponing, downgrading, or canceling them. Love shouldn't be like this. My phone began to vibrate. It was Bing Bing. That was the name I had saved for my wife. I hung up immediately. Across the street, Qingyuan Technology's building was brightly lit. A huge LED screen displayed scrolling slogans celebrating the company's public listing. A new beginning, a new journey. That's right. But my new journey had nothing to do with that place anymore. Bai Ningbing and I had been married for 3 years, back when the company was still a tiny studio. I worked during the day and spent my evenings organizing the finances and writing business proposals for her, even cleaning the office. She said we'd make our relationship public once the company was stable and have a grand wedding. 3 years passed, and the company secured its first round of funding. She said we'd go public after the Series B funding round. Last year, the Series B round succeeded. Then she said we had to wait until the listing. She promised I'd stand beside her on the day we went public. Today, we went public, yet I was humiliated in front of everyone. Scenes from recent months flashed through my mind. My forehead was still bandaged from being struck by a flower pot. For the first time ever, Bai Ningbing personally drove me to work, but dropped me off 2 blocks from the office. Be careful with your wound. Her voice held a rare tenderness. My heart warmed, and I thought the tests were over. But as soon as we reached the office, she singled me out at the morning meeting and criticized last week's disorganized reports. I sat frozen, listening to her icy voice, and the monologue in her mind, which was the complete opposite. Darling, I'm sorry. Your reports were excellent. They were especially good. But Wang Dateng said we had to test your ability to handle pressure today. You have to hang in there. Tonight, I'll give you a shoulder massage. I'll use a method I learned online to help you calm down. After work that day, I genuinely thought I was going to get that shoulder massage. But when evening came, another message arrived saying she wouldn't be coming home. I have to have dinner with an investor unexpectedly. I'll be home late. When she came home at 1 in the morning, she smelled of alcohol and went straight to sleep. I didn't know how many more times this same story would repeat. The little hope left in my heart, deflated like a punctured balloon, silently and completely. In the 3rd week after gaining the ability to read minds, I finally heard about the surprise Bai Ningbing had prepared for me. That day, she called me into her office. In front of Wang Dateng, she dismissed the proposal I had spent a month creating as worthless. Do it again. I want a new version by tomorrow morning. I gathered up the documents and prepared to leave. But her thoughts suddenly filled with excitement. Almost there. Once he passes this test, I'll promote Fang Yuan to director of the design department. He's wanted this position for a long time. Tomorrow, I'll personally pin his new ID badge on him. For the sake of those words, I stayed up until 4 in the morning and redid the entire proposal from scratch. The next day, I walked into the office with dark circles under my eyes, waiting for her to announce my promotion. Bai Ningbing's eyes lit up for a moment when she saw me, but she still said only one thing, barely passing. She had just mentioned me as a candidate for director to Wang Dateng. When Wang Dateng adjusted his glasses, Fang's proposal is indeed good, but he has never independently led a major project. There's an important client coming next quarter. Why not evaluate him for another month? Bai Ningbing frowned, and I waited for her to object, but the scales in her mind quickly tipped toward Wang Dateng. What if we promote him now, and the others refuse to accept it? Let's wait for one more project. Then we'll have reasons to celebrate. So she avoided my gaze, and told me to prove myself for another month. I walked out of the office with that barely passing proposal. I couldn't even be bothered to show my disappointment. I had already waited for the same surprise once before. 2 weeks earlier, it had been my birthday. When Bai Ningbing left that morning, she gave me a rare kiss on the cheek and told me to come home early because she had a surprise for me. After work, I bought her favorite cake and picked out a bouquet of flowers. At 6, she sent me a message saying she had an unexpected meeting and telling me to eat without her. I waited from 8 until 11. The candles on the cake were never lit. At last, the door opened. Bai Ningbing walked in, looking exhausted. When she saw the cake and flowers on the table, she froze in place. Oh no, I forgot today was his birthday. Her heart filled with guilt, but the words that came out were reproachful. Why are you still awake? Didn't I tell you I had a meeting? I reminded her that it was my birthday. Her lips moved as she desperately urged herself to offer birthday wishes and mention the gift. But before she could speak, Wang Dateng's call came through. When she heard him say there was a problem with the data, her expression immediately turned serious. There's an emergency at the company. I have to go back. Can we celebrate your birthday tomorrow instead? I'm sorry. I had already prepared that watch for him. I'll definitely give it to him tomorrow. Bai Ningbing hurried away, leaving me alone with the food growing cold. The next day, she did give me a watch. Only, the top brand watch she'd originally planned to give me had been replaced with an ordinary business watch. Do you like it? Her eyes were full of anticipation. So I put the watch on my wrist and said I liked it. Just as she breathed a sigh of relief, I heard the real reason. It may be a cheaper brand, but he looks pretty happy. Wang Dateng was right. You can't spoil someone too much. The next day, I put the watch at the very back of a drawer and never wore it again. Now, I looked at the dozens of missed calls on my phone without feeling the slightest stir in my heart. Bai Ningbing kept asking where I was and telling me to come home and talk. She also said making our relationship public wasn't appropriate. We can celebrate in private. Online, she demanded to know why I had asked for a divorce at the listing celebration, saying she had clearly prepared so many surprises. Yet before the celebration began, the only thing she had sent me was, "Don't be late. Remember to wear that gray suit." I didn't reply. I opened my email instead and sent the resignation letter I'd prepared long ago to Human Resources. Then I called Shang Xinqi. "Miss Shang, is the offer you made me last time still available?" She answered immediately. "It has always been available. Have you made up your mind?" "I have. But there's something I need to explain first. Bai Ningbing of Qingyuan Technology and I are married. Our divorce has not yet been finalized. If that's a problem for you, what concerns me is that your talent is being wasted. Your marital status has nothing to do with it." Shang Xinqi asked me to come sign the contract at 9 the next morning. The position, salary, and equity would all follow the terms we previously discussed. She even asked whether I needed the company to arrange temporary housing. I was a little surprised, but she only chuckled. "You resigned on the spot and asked for a divorce at the listing celebration. The news has already spread through half the business community. Fang Yuan, you're bolder than I expected." After hanging up, I finally let out a long breath. The screen lit up again. This time, the message was from Wang Dateng. He urged me to hurry back and apologize to Bai Ningbing, saying that married couples shouldn't go to bed angry. I read it, then turned off the screen. When I got home, I took out my suitcase and packed my clothes one by one. Halfway through packing, the lock suddenly clicked. Bai Ningbing stood in the doorway, her eyes red from crying. She looked at me, then at the open suitcase, and visibly staggered. "Fang Yuan, where are you going?" I didn't answer. I simply folded the last few shirts. She rushed over and grabbed my wrist, her fingertips frighteningly cold. "I was wrong today. I shouldn't have humiliated you in public, but I had my reasons." "Quick, tell him about the villa deposit contract, the Maldives tickets, and our plan to make our relationship public." But I merely pulled my hand away and zipped up the suitcase. "Are your reasons the test Wang Dateng told you about?" Bai Ningbing's pupils suddenly contracted. She first asked how I knew, then hurriedly changed her tune, saying that all of this had indeed been meant to temper me and make me stronger. "Wang Dateng said that anyone who wants to succeed must experience setbacks. As your wife, I only wanted to help you. Help me. Bai Ningbing hurriedly shook her head and said she had never thought I was unworthy of her. It was just that Wang Dateng graduated from a prestigious university and thought differently from us. His advice was also more professional, but what she really thought was that if she polished me until I was perfect, then when we made our relationship public, no one would criticize her husband for not being good enough. I listened to the excuses she spoke aloud and the entirely different explanations in her mind and felt nothing but exhaustion. For the past month, every time she felt guilty or regretted something, Wang Dateng had eventually talked her out of it with a few words. In her eyes, I was still the ordinary graduate from a second-tier university who needed others to teach him how to grow. I looked at her and asked, every word deliberate. We've been married for 3 years. The company grew from a studio of barely a dozen people to a publicly listed firm. What part of that journey did I not walk beside you through? What crisis did I not shoulder for you? I walked to the desk and took a thick stack of documents from the bottom drawer. I wrote the series of funding proposal 2 years ago. You told everyone that you had stayed up all night, but I also created last year's Series B negotiation strategy. Yet you said Wang Dateng helped you organize your thoughts, and the core architecture for every major project over the past 3 years was my work. I placed the documents in front of Bai Ningbing. Who else do I need to teach me how to grow? She stared at the pages, her lips trembling slightly, yet she still tried to explain. Wang Dateng graduated from a prestigious university. His advice is more professional. I didn't argue further. I only asked whether she knew that the overtime work she mentioned last Wednesday had actually been taking Wang Dateng to a private cocktail party. Bai Ningbing's expression changed instantly. She said it was necessary for work. Wang Dateng had told her that those investors had to be cultivated carefully. I pulled up a photo on my phone. In it, she was wearing an evening gown and holding a glass of champagne as she chatted and laughed with someone beside her. Bai Ningbing's breath caught. There hadn't been any media there that night. How could he have this photo? Did Wang Dateng also tell you that I was playing video games at home that night? Right? I took back my phone and told her that I had spent the entire day revising the listing presentation materials and worked until 3 in the morning. She drank 3 glasses of champagne at the party and listened to Wang Dateng tell amusing stories for an hour without ever asking what I was doing. Bai Ningbing's expression shifted several times as she hurried to explain away the party. She said that chatting was merely a matter of social etiquette. Wang Dateng had also told her that I had been under a lot of pressure lately and should relax at home by playing video games. That's why she hadn't disturbed me. I truly didn't know he was working overtime. He was busy at home alone while I went to a cocktail party. Wang Dateng always has an excuse, and you always believe him. Those words struck a nerve. Bai Ningbing suddenly raised her voice. Wang Dateng graduated from Harvard. His experience and methods are both sound and well-reasoned. A professional's opinion is naturally more reliable. I laughed. The company's first major client was one with a proposal I drafted on the spot in a cafe. Back then, we didn't have a Harvard-trained expert helping us. She stood frozen. She remembered how we used to squeeze into a 30-square-meter office, eating instant noodles and staying up late together. But after wavering briefly, she insisted again that now the company had grown, it needed more professional management. She added that Wang Dateng had connected the company with 3 potential investors this month. The resources he brought were all genuine, but he used my industry analysis and my financial models, along with the competitive data I compiled. I calmly told her Wang Dateng had merely repackaged those materials, then presented them to her as the work of a Harvard-trained expert. Bai Ningbing was finally speechless. She didn't know that over the past month, every time she knew something was wrong but chose to believe Wang Dateng, and every time she wanted to stand up for me but decided to wait a little longer, I had heard it all, loud and clear. I picked up my suitcase and walked to the door. I've heard enough about your reasons and surprises. Move. Bai Ningbing spread her arms to block the door. Tears suddenly spilled down her cheeks. If you walk out that door today, we're really over. The day you treated me like a project to be tested and remade, we were already over. In her heart, she was still crying out that she loved me and had prepared many surprises for after the celebration banquet. So I asked her what exactly she had prepared. Bai Ningbing clutched at the last straw. She immediately pulled the villa deposit contract from her bag. I really prepared everything. I only wanted to give you the perfect surprise. The villa is in your name. I also booked tickets to the Maldives for next week and was only waiting to make our relationship public after the celebration banquet. She finally admitted that Wang Dateng had told her. The longer a surprise was kept secret, the happier the reveal would be. Then, after you stepped onto the celebration stage, why did you thank only Wang Dateng? Bai Ningbing clutched the contract, her expression completely frozen. Because at the last moment, Wang Dateng said that announcing our marriage immediately after the listing might undermine investor confidence. So, once again, she chose to make me wait. I gently pushed aside the arm she had stretched across the doorway. She didn't resist. It was as if all the strength had been drained from her body. The villa, the tickets, the promotion, and the shares. Leave them all for the next person you need to test. I dragged my suitcase out of the house. Bai Ningbing called after me. Fang Yuan, don't go. I'll fire Wang Dateng tomorrow and make our relationship public. I can give up everything. I'm only asking you not to leave. I didn't turn around. I only reminded her whether she remembered what we said on the day we got our marriage certificate. Back then, we had only gone to the civil affairs office to get our marriage certificate, then gone to a little noodle shop and eaten 2 bowls of noodles. She watched me promise aloud that once the company grew, I would make it up to her with a grand wedding, so everyone would know I was her husband and her pride. Now the company was publicly listed, yet all I received was her distancing herself from me in front of everyone. The door closed behind me, leaving Bai Ningbing standing where she was, and she never came after me. At 9 the next morning, I arrived at Kexin Technology on time. Shang Xinqi's secretary led me into the conference room. Shang Xinqi hung up the phone, walked over, and extended her hand. Fang Yuan, welcome. I had just thanked her when she pointed to the contract on the table. You earned this opportunity yourself. Vice President, an annual salary of 5 million yuan, plus performance bonuses, 2% in options, vesting over 5 years. You'll have complete authority over the research and development department, and report directly to me. The contract terms are perfectly clear, with no hidden traps. It was the position and authority I'd spent years at Qingyuan waiting for, but never received. I closed the contract and asked her half-jokingly if she wasn't afraid I was a corporate spy sent by Qingyuan. Shang Xinqi lifted her coffee and asked in return, how many times have I tried to recruit you over the past 3 months? Every time I said I had to stay with my wife, and that Qingyuan couldn't do without me. But she had already investigated Qingyuan's funding proposal, its East China market strategy, and the architecture of its flagship products, and discovered that I was the true person behind all of them. Bai Ningbing thought that by hiding you, she could keep others from seeing your abilities. Shang Xinqi handed me a pen. Would you betray the company? I shook my head and signed the contract. She put the contract away, then asked whether I had arranged somewhere to live. The company has an executive apartment in the complex across the street, with 3 bedrooms and 2 living areas. You can move in immediately. I thanked her again, but she told me to call her by her name from now on. I readily agreed. Shang Xinqi, what floor is the research and development department on? She picked up her coat and walked toward the door with a smile. The 12th floor. Come on. Our team has been waiting a long time for you. As I followed Shang Xinqi to meet my new team, Bai Ningbing finally woke on the floor of her own entryway. She had cried herself to sleep the night before, and woke with a splitting headache. Her phone had run out of power. She instinctively called my name, but received no response. The living room, bedroom, and bathroom were all eerily silent. My razor and toothbrush were gone, but my slippers remained neatly in the shoe cabinet. She staggered into the bedroom and found that my half of the wardrobe was already empty. Several expensive shirts she had bought were still hanging there, while the second draped birthday watch lay alone at the back of the drawer. Only at that moment did she finally understand that I wasn't throwing a tantrum. Bai Ningbing sat in front of the wardrobe for a long time, trying to recover, before remembering to charge her phone. After turning it on, besides dozens of missed calls, there was also a message from the Human Resources Director. Ms. Bai, how should we handle Fang Yuan's resignation email? Should we arrange a handover? She immediately opened her work email and, sure enough, saw my resignation letter. Bai Ningbing called the Human Resources Director and demanded sharply who approved it. The other person was startled and reminded her that she herself was the one who had replied with her approval. Halfway through speaking, she suddenly remembered what had happened after the celebration banquet. After I left, the scene descended into chaos. Bai Ningbing rested in the hotel's conference hall. Wang Dateng poured her a glass of water and first urged her not to be sad, saying that I had only acted on impulse. But in his next breath, he accused me of being immature for humiliating her in public on the company's big listing day. I shouldn't have listened to her advice and tested Fang Yuan. If he couldn't even withstand this little pressure, how could he be the president's husband in the future, or serve as the company's vice president? My resignation would give Bai Ningbing the perfect chance to replace me with someone more professional. He had even prepared several so-called elite candidates. Bai Ningbing's thoughts were in turmoil, yet once again, she found his words convincing. So, when Wang Dateng offered to handle the resignation email for her, she casually said, just deal with it. I don't want to see it. Wang Dateng then used her email to reply with his approval. Remembering this, Bai Ningbing's hands began to tremble. She ordered Human Resources, don't reassign Fang Yuan's work yet, and don't let anyone take it over. We'll deal with it after I return to the company. After changing clothes and leaving the house, she called my number several more times, but still couldn't get through. It wasn't until the car was on the road that she realized she didn't even know where to look for me. When she reached Qingyuan Technology. Bai Ningbing's first question was where Wang Dateng was. Before the receptionist could answer, Wang Dateng appeared carrying 2 cups of coffee. From behind her, his face was filled with surprise, as if he hadn't expected her to arrive so early. Were you the one who used my email last night to reply to Fang Yuan's resignation letter? I was just taking care of a small matter while I was at it. A small matter? I mean handling the email, not approving it. But shouldn't a resignation email be approved? He reminded Bai Ningbing again that I had humiliated her in public at the listing celebration, and even asked for a divorce. With such immature behavior, if we don't teach him a lesson, how will he ever be worthy of standing beside you? Listening to those familiar words, Bai Ningbing suddenly found them terrifyingly familiar. Delaying my promotion, canceling my rewards, criticizing me in public, rejecting my proposals. Every time. Wang Dateng's reason was that it was for my own good, to help me grow and make me better. Over the past month, the things you had me do to Fang Yuan, were you really testing him? Of course, Ms. Bai. Why are you suddenly asking that? Did Fang Yuan tell you something again? He didn't say anything. Bai Ningbing only asked whether someone who truly wanted the best for another person would repeatedly postpone promises, water down surprises, then trample the other person's dignity in public. Wang Dateng paused, then said he understood. She was only worried about me and felt she had been too harsh. But growth is painful by nature. Think of all those successful people. Which one of them hasn't endured hardship? Enough starting today. All your work will be handed over, and you don't need to come to the company for now. Wang Dateng's face suddenly turned white. He chased after her, questioning her repeatedly. Ms. Bai, what do you mean? What did I do wrong? He followed her, shouting that he had done a great deal for the company during this time, and that all those investors and resources had come through him. Fang Yuan only knows how to write proposals. He's not worthy of you. Bai Ningbing spun around. Whether he's worthy of me is not for you to judge. She also warned Wang Dateng that he had better make sure every resource he had brought in over the past month was genuine. With that, she slammed the office door, and silence fell inside. Her inbox was still flooded with investors' congratulations, media interview request, and celebration banquet reimbursement forms. Everything remained perfectly orderly. But Bai Ningbing's own world had been turned upside down. At 10 o'clock, the finance director knocked and entered with a deeply troubled expression. Ms. Bai, there's a problem. Go ahead. The medical equipment project Fang Yuan is handling requires the second research and development payment today, but the approval process requires his signature. Bai Ningbing froze. What project? How come I know nothing about it? You don't know. It's a project Fang Yuan has been handling alone. It's been underway for 3 months. The client is the largest medical equipment distributor in eastern China. The contract is worth 80 million yuan, with a 40 million yuan advance payment that arrived last month. A loud buzz rang through Bai Ningbing's mind. Bai Ningbing opened the financial system and found the payment from Walking Medical. She immediately ordered someone to retrieve the complete records and bring up the project files. As she spoke, her voice had already begun to tremble. 10 minutes later, the project proposal, technical specifications, and market analysis, along with the contract terms, were all laid out before her. She stared at the screen, her face drained of all color. And yet, for a project like this, she hadn't even heard its name before. From beginning to end, every page had been written by me. The proposal had even calculated the profits for the next 3 years, no less than 50 million yuan annually. Why? Why didn't you ever tell me? Mr. Fang said you were busy preparing for the listing and didn't want to bother you with such a small project. He planned to surprise you once it produced results. Bai Ningbing stared at the screen and suddenly remembered how, the night before, she had repeatedly emphasized the word surprise. Bai Ningbing suddenly wanted to laugh, but couldn't smile at all. The secretary quickly pulled up every project I had handled. 37 in total. Bai Ningbing had heard of some, but didn't even know the names of others. Yet every project had a complete proposal, a progress report, and projected results. Bai Ningbing flipped through them one by one and saw exactly how far each project had progressed and what came next, all laid out before her. She finally saw clearly that, while she had followed Wang Dateng's advice to test me over the past month, I had still been moving these projects forward for the company. Her phone rang just then. The caller was investor Wang. Ms. Bai, congratulations on the listing, but I heard Fang Yuan has left your company. What happened? Mr. Wang, you know Fang Yuan. I do more than know him. If not for Fang Yuan during last year's funding round, we wouldn't have invested at all. Mr. Wang bluntly said that they invested in Qingyuan, half because they believed in the company and half because they believed in me. Now that Fang Yuan is gone, you owe us an explanation. If next quarter's financial report looks bad, we'll reconsider our investment. After the call ended, Bai Ningbing clutched her phone until her knuckles turned white. Then a second call came in, followed by a third, all from investors and business partners. They all asked why I had left and what would happen to the company without me. The last caller was the chief technology officer. Ms. Bai, Fang Yuan is gone. No one understands the new product's core algorithm. Research and development has already stopped. When Bai Ningbing reached the technology department, more than a dozen engineers were huddled around the code on the screen, completely at a loss. The chief technology officer pointed to the code on the screen and said I had written the underlying architecture and was the only one who fully understood its logic. Now that the system had developed a problem, they had tried everything and still couldn't fix it. If this continued, the product launch would have to be postponed. Did Fang Yuan leave any documentation? She regretted asking the moment the words left her mouth. She knew my habits. I couldn't possibly have left nothing behind. The documentation explains the overall approach, not the actual code. Some crucial logic was known only to Fang Yuan. The densely packed code on the screen continued to display errors. Everyone around her waited for her decision. Bai Ningbing looked at the engineers' anxious faces and suddenly felt dizzy. Only then did Bai Ningbing realize that she had always thought she was steering the ship, while I had long been somewhere beyond her sight, holding up the company's most vital technology. And the person who had torn away that support was none other than her. The secretary suddenly ran into the technology department, looking panicked. Ms. Bai, Assistant Wang is downstairs speaking to the media. What is he saying? He's saying Fang Yuan was fired because he was incompetent and caused a scene at the celebration banquet out of jealousy over his promotion. Bai Ningbing immediately rushed downstairs. In the lobby, several reporters surrounded Wang Dateng as he spoke confidently. The company has decided to restructure its personnel and bring in a more professional management team. This is also to ensure better growth after the listing. Bai Ningbing called out to him and waited until every camera turned toward her before saying only one thing. You're fired. Now, leave the company immediately. The entire lobby fell silent. Every reporter's camera swung toward Bai Ningbing. Ms. Bai, what did you say? Bai Ningbing again ordered security to escort him out. The moment the security guard stepped forward, Wang Dateng panicked. Ms. Bai, you can't treat me like this. I've done so much for the company this past month. All those investors and resources came through me. I'll investigate every resource you claim to have brought in. And if they're all genuine, you'll receive every penny you're owed. But if they're fake, you better think carefully about the consequences. Even as Wang Dateng was dragged from the lobby, he kept shouting, you'll regret this. Without me, the company won't last 3 months. After the glass doors closed, Bai Ningbing turned to face the reporters who were still filming. Fang Yuan is my husband and one of Qingyuan Technology's core founders. His departure was caused by a serious personal mistake of mine. Every camera at the scene turned toward her. This was also the first time Bai Ningbing had publicly acknowledged our relationship. She acknowledged what I had done for Qingyuan, but this belated public acknowledgement could no longer change the fact that I had already left. The company will issue an official statement after the investigation. In addition, I will give Fang Yuan the position of vice president and put him fully in charge of the company's operations. The reporters erupted in an uproar. Bai Ningbing only repeated that the company would issue an official statement after the investigation, then entered the elevator escorted by security. When the elevator doors closed, she leaned against the wall and shut her eyes. The only thing left in her mind was the sight of me leaving with my luggage. Half a month later, Qingyuan's technology department was still in chaos. The engineers repeatedly analyzed the documentation I had left behind and could understand the overall approach, but always got stuck on the critical code. Projects that had been progressing on schedule began falling behind. Clients' inquiries changed from requests for updates into angry demands for answers. The bidding deadline for the new district smart park project was approaching, but no one could fully take over its core algorithm module. The head of Longshan Group called for the third time, asking where manager Fang, who had promised to oversee everything, had gone. Bai Ningbing hung up and warily pressed her fingers to her brow. She finally remembered that I had warned her long ago. I was currently the only person who could handle this project, but at the time, she had assumed I was exaggerating my importance. Over the past few days, she had sent me countless messages and made countless calls. I had replied only once. Fang Yuan's message read, "Sign the divorce agreement and mail it to me. There's nothing else to discuss." The board was also pressing her to confirm whether the project could be submitted on time. Bai Ningbing first told the secretary to say yes, but changed her mind the moment the words left her mouth, asking for 3 more days. After the secretary left, she sat alone in her office and opened the bottom drawer. Inside was a custom-made men's ring, more exquisite than the one from our wedding. Beneath the ring lay a vice presidential appointment letter bearing the company's official seal. At the very bottom was an equity transfer agreement. She had planned to transfer 20% of her shares to me. These things were supposed to be presented at the listing celebration. Bai Ningbing truly had prepared them, but whenever the time came to truly choose me, she always listened to Wang Dateng and pushed her promises back a little further. Her phone suddenly vibrated. The private investigator finally sent a message, saying that he had found me. The investigator confirmed that Fang Yuan entered Kexin Tower at exactly 9 every morning, and that his position was vice president. Bai Ningbing stared at the words Kexin, then immediately grabbed her car keys and rushed out of the office. When Bai Ningbing arrived at Kexin Tower, I was discussing the new district project with my team in the first floor cafe. I marked the edge computing nodes on the plans and explained to my colleagues that this would reduce the cloud workload by 40% and improve response times. My assistant, Joe, suddenly alerted me that someone was looking for me outside. I looked up toward the glass wall and met Bai Ningbing's gaze. In the half-month since I'd last seen her, she had grown noticeably thinner. Her once well-fitted suit now hung loosely on her, and dark circles stood out beneath her eyes. My colleagues gathered their materials and left. Only then did Bai Ningbing push open the door and sit across from me. She gripped her handbag strapped tightly with both hands, her voice trembling the entire time. "Fang Yuan, Ms. Bai." I closed the folder and told her that work matters had to be scheduled through the company's official channels, while personal matters should be handled through our lawyers. "You used to call me Bing Bing." Her eyes reddened as she said she knew she had been wrong and had apologized to me in front of the entire company. If I was willing to come back, she would give me the vice presidential position and the shares. Bai Ningbing took the equity transfer agreement from her bag and pushed it across the table to me. The share she was offering was 20%, based on Qingyuan's market value at the time. It was worth nearly 200 million. It was certainly generous, but unfortunately, it was too late. I pushed the agreement back and asked whether she remembered the promise she made the week before the listing. She had said that once the company went public, we would reveal our marriage, then take our belated honeymoon in Iceland and see the northern lights. Yet on the day of the listing, she denied me in front of everyone and gave all the credit to Wang Dateng. Bai Ningbing still wanted to say aloud that it had only been a test of my feelings, but deep down, she had already shifted all the blame onto Wang Dateng. What was this test supposed to prove? That I could endure humiliation, or that I loved you enough? Bai Ningbing said through her tears that criticizing me had hurt her every time, and that she had always thought about how to make it up to me afterward. "Believe me, I really have always loved you. I believe you may still love me." She jerked her head up and finally realized that I had just answered words she hadn't spoken aloud. "He can hear my thoughts." "Yes, I've always been able to hear them." Bai Ningbing was shocked at first, but hope soon appeared in her eyes. Her face had already gone pale, yet her gaze kept searching my face for confirmation. She hurriedly said that since I had heard everything, I should know she hadn't done it intentionally, and that she had always planned to make amends. "Precisely because I could hear your thoughts. I knew how you chose Wang Dateng again and again, and that's why I was even more disappointed. I was wrong, but I love you. If you hadn't mentioned divorce last time, I would have given you everything I had prepared. So I deserve to endure all of that. Because you loved me, after I had been utterly humiliated in front of everyone. Was I still supposed to play along?" Bai Ningbing opened and closed her mouth, finally unable to answer. "What should I do? He's really angry. How am I supposed to beg him to forgive me? For 3 years, I wrote business plans for her until dawn, drank with clients until I suffered a stomach hemorrhage, and solved one technical problem after another. Yet because of a few words from an intern, she repeatedly postponed her promises and allowed him to undermine me. I stood up to leave. Bai Ningbing rose with me and grabbed my sleeve. Her voice had taken on a sobbing edge, and she refused to let go. "Fang Yuan, give me one more chance. Just one. I promise I won't listen to Wang Dateng again. I've already fired him. Please come back, will you? The company can't survive without you." At least she had finally said something true. It was simply far too late. I told her to let go, but she clung even tighter. She even suspected that I had already become involved with Shang Xinqi, and that was why I was so determined to divorce her. Before she could finish, a calm woman's voice came from the doorway. Shang Xinqi entered the cafe carrying a folder and stopped beside me. She first clarified that I accepted Kexin's offer only after leaving Qingyuan, while Bai Ningbing had ordered me around like an ordinary employee. Shang Xinqi had already recognized my value. Shang Xinqi's third statement was even more direct. "Stop tugging at him. You're making a scene." Bai Ningbing's face flushed, then turned pale, and her fingers finally loosened. Shang Xinqi handed me the first draft of the new district bid, saying that a few sections still needed adjustment, but the overall direction was excellent. Bai Ningbing was wounded by that strictly professional praise, and immediately insisted that this was a matter between husband and wife. Right now, my vice president is being harassed, so of course I have to intervene. She even thanked Bai Ningbing for failing to appreciate me. Otherwise, Kexin might never have had the chance to hire someone like me. Bai Ningbing gripped the edge of the table as tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. She asked whether I truly intended to help her competitor take on Qingyuan. A month ago, seeing her cry might have softened my heart, but hearing the same pleas for reconciliation now, I felt nothing but calm. Everything I had done over the years had been for her and our family, yet she hid our marriage and stifled my career. While listening to outsiders and repeatedly testing my limits, I won't use Kexin to target Qingyuan. A glimmer of hope had just appeared in Bai Ningbing's eyes when I continued that I would only use my own abilities to make Kexin's projects the best they could be. As for whether Qingyuan can continue operating, that's a problem for you as its CEO to solve. It has nothing to do with me anymore. The hope that had just risen in her eyes faded again, turning into even deeper despair. Shang Xinqi glanced at the time and reminded her, "We still have work to do." Bai Ningbing bit her lip hard and spoke again only after a long silence. "I'm willing to sign the divorce agreement, but I want you to promise me one thing. There are still 30 days left in the divorce cooling off period. During that time, I hope you'll answer my calls and reply to my messages, so I can say goodbye properly." Shang Xinqi frowned. I raised a hand, signaling her not to speak yet. "As long as you sign the agreement, I agree." Bai Ningbing nodded at once and promised to sign it as soon as she got back, and mail it to me that same day. After she left, Shang Xinqi asked the server to bring us to fresh coffees. She asked why I had agreed when I really didn't have to. Why give Bai Ningbing another 30 days? She should sign as soon as possible. If this keeps dragging on, it won't help anyone. Shang Xinqi then asked whether I had moved on. I said I could let go of the marriage, but the resentment in my heart would take time. She didn't press me further. She simply raised her cup to a new life. We gently clinked our cups. The coffee was slightly bitter at first, but after I swallowed, it left a lingering fragrance. On the 30th day of the divorce cooling off period, I received the package Bai Ningbing had sent, with her 17th apology gift. This time, it was a deluxe hardcover set of The Three Body Problem. A note was tucked inside. She wrote that she remembered how much I liked the series, so she'd asked someone to find a first edition. She wasn't asking for my forgiveness. She only wanted me to know that she still remembered. I put the books in the storage cabinet in my office, alongside the previous 16 gifts. Inside were vouchers for the restaurant where we had our first date, a watch I had casually mentioned years ago, and 10 handwritten pages of memories from her. She still hadn't given up. Whenever Shang Xinqi came to discuss work, she would see the increasingly full cabinet and ask, "The cooling off period ends in 2 days." Bai Ningbing had promised to go. Throughout those 30 days, Bai Ningbing messaged me every day. Sometimes she apologized, sometimes she reminisced, and sometimes she asked only one thing: "Did you bring an umbrella? It's raining." I occasionally replied with a word or two, but most of the time, I didn't respond. She also called many times. After drinking late at night, she would sob and admit that she was wrong. Then, clear-headed in the early morning, she would cautiously ask whether we could have a meal together. That continued until the day before, when she finally said she agreed to the divorce, and only asked whether we could still be friends afterward. Sign the papers first. Over that month, Kexin's new District Smart Park project won the bid by a clear margin. At the heart of the technical proposal was an idea I'd developed at Qingyuan, only to have it rejected time and again. Rongsheng Group also decided to end its partnership with Qingyuan and switch to Kexin. That development never came up in our conversations, and I had no intention of telling her separately. On the day the cooling off period ended, she and I met outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. She wore a plain-colored dress and no makeup. She looked painfully thin. When she saw me, she managed a faint smile. Her eyes were still swollen and red. "Let's go." She said only one word aloud, but wondered silently whether I truly didn't want to wait even one moment longer. "Okay." I turned and walked inside. Bai Ningbing tried to take my hand, but I only sighed and let her go inside to complete the formalities. There weren't many people at the bureau that day, and the process was quick. We signed the papers and provided our fingerprints. The staff member pushed a dark red divorce certificates in front of us and said the formalities were complete. Bai Ningbing picked up hers, her fingers trembling constantly. "Take care." After we left the Civil Affairs Bureau, she still asked the question that haunted her. If I hadn't listened to Wang Dateng back then, would we still have ended up here? There are no what-ifs. Bai Ningbing, we both need to move forward. She wiped away her tears and said she was simply regretful. So regretful that she couldn't sleep at night. I didn't comfort her. The papers had been signed. Some feelings could only be dealt with by her alone. Bai Ningbing struggled to steady her voice and told me that Wang Dateng's situation had been fully investigated. He wasn't a graduate of some prestigious foreign university at all. He had bought his credentials and fabricated his entire work history. Over the past month, she had also discovered that Wang Dateng, under the pretext of testing me, had blocked at least 3 promotions I should have received. He had even secretly diverted funds from 2 of the company's smaller projects. I've reported him to the police. The police took Wang Dateng away the day before. Before leaving, he was still making excuses, claiming that she had tacitly approved everything and that she deserved to lose me. He wasn't wrong about that. I said nothing. She brought up Qingyuan's shares again, saying she would transfer 20% to me as originally planned. I had always been entitled to that share, and it was also something she owed me. I was about to refuse, but she cut me off and asked me to accept it so she could feel a little less guilty. In the end, I nodded. I hope you and Shang Xinqi will be happy. I didn't explain that we were only partners for now. I turned and walked away. After a dozen or so steps, she called out to me from behind. Fang Yuan, thank you for staying by my side all these years. I kept walking. Just then, I received a message from Shang Xinqi. The team is having dinner tonight to celebrate the successful delivery of the first phase of the new district project. The star of the show has to be there. I replied, okay. I hailed a taxi. In the rearview mirror, the gates of the Civil Affairs Bureau grew farther and farther away, and the figure in the plain-colored dress gradually disappeared. 3 months later, I represented Kexin at the industry's annual Innovation Summit. Standing on stage, I explained to everyone edge computing architecture and dynamic algorithm optimization. Applause rang out below. As my speech was nearing its end, I heard Bai Ningbing's thoughts again. The way you look when you speak is truly dazzling. I was the one who held you back. I followed the voice with my eyes and saw her sitting in the third row, beside Qingyuan's newly hired chief technology officer. She listened intently, occasionally lowering her head to take notes. Our eyes met briefly. Bai Ningbing smiled and nodded at me. I nodded back and finished my speech. During the backstage interview, I heard her thoughts again. I'll leave first and won't bother him anymore. When I looked around, she was already gone. Leave the interview to me. Shang Xinqi came over afterward, finished the interview for me, and naturally slipped her arm through mine, leading me out of the venue. Qingyuan's new chief technology officer recorded everything. Aren't you worried they'll take the footage back to study? The architecture can be imitated, but the core algorithms won't be so easy to crack. You certainly sound confident. The reason I invited you to Kexin was precisely this confidence. Over the past few months, we had become a well-coordinated working partnership. She handled strategy and capital, while I handled technology and products. Kexin's market value also rose by 40%. After we got in the car, Shang Xinqi told me the transfer of Qingyuan's shares had been completed. With 20%, you're now Qingyuan's third largest shareholder. Bai Ningbing had indeed kept her final promise, but Qingyuan had already lost 3 major clients, and its stock price had fallen by 20%. The board was also continuing to pressure her. Does it hurt to see her like this? No. I just think it's a shame. Bai Ningbing could have run the company much better, but everyone has to take responsibility for their choices. You supported Qingyuan for so many years and done everything you could. You haven't owed anyone anything for a long time. I didn't argue. Just then, my phone vibrated. A text arrived from an unknown number. I listened to your speech from the audience today, and I'm very proud of you. Take care. I didn't reply. I put my phone away and looked at the lights constantly sliding past outside the car window. The road already traveled can never be retraced, and the people we let